So on the topic of the science for manipulation, he then addresses the idea of, well, can people be studied as if they were inanimate objects? And so obviously the answer is no, but then he talks about it here on page 57. So he says, he will be shocked by predictabilities. Anything predictable can be so only on account of its fixed nature, and the higher the level of being, the less is the fixity and the greater the plasticity of nature. And so he lists some examples. So physics, chemistry, and astronomy can therefore achieve virtually perfect powers of prediction. They can in fact be completed and finalized once and for all, as is claimed to be the case with mechanics. Human beings are highly predictable as physical-chemical systems, less so as living bodies, much less so as conscious beings, and hardly at all as self-aware persons. And this, of course, being the fatal flaw of sociology and psychology and etc. when they try to predict human behavior, is that human beings are unpredictable because of their self-awareness and their free will. And so on that point, skipping to page 65 now, he quotes a P.D. Ouspensky, and he says that man as we know him is not a completed being. That nature develops him only up to a certain point, and then leaves him either to develop further by his own efforts and devices, or to live and die such as he was born, or to degenerate and lose capacity for development. So, of course, if we were born completed, then we could be studied, and we could be just like astronomy. But because we are left with all kinds of things to develop, and that development is fueled by our free will and choices, that leaves science unable to completely predict what a human being will do, or any other self-aware being. And on that point, too, on the same page, he makes an interesting point about what psychology used to be for. He mentions that psychology is not, this is that same Ouspensky person. He says that psychology is sometimes called a new science, but this is quite wrong. Psychology is perhaps the oldest science. And he mentions that psychology was discussed much in religion for the opposite reason that psychology is discussed today. So he says that psychology was primarily concerned not with sick people who had to be made normal, but with normal people who were capable of becoming, and indeed destined to become, supernormal. So he's saying that when religion was discussing psychology, it was concerned with making people better than they were, whereas today's psychology is mostly concerned with the abnormal and trying to make them normal, or mitigate some of their circumstances, some of their mental health concerns, to try to make them normal. But psychology is very little of it is done on improving the normal. And apparently that's what religion used to do.